This is Talking with Burritos, the podcast that's giving you something to talk about when you want to talk about movies and media entertainment. I am Jerry JJ Wayne Graham, and on this podcast episode, we have, we're talking about summer movies, Solo, and the preordained Clapback. And it's all going to fall together. And also, which movie I am actually looking forward to watching this summer. My most anticipated movie for the summer. And when does the summer start? Nowadays, they're saying the summer starts in that April. Once, Fast 7? Or was it Fast 6 opened up big in April? All of a sudden, April became the time to release your summer movies. I think that, summer movies actually begin at the tail end of May. And I'll explain why in this episode of Talking with Burritos. Thank you guys for listening. Let's start the show. Solo is considered a failure. I don't think it's necessarily based on the critical appeal of the movie. I think it's more financial. It's all about how much it raked in at the box office compared to other releases that came before it. Especially like Rogue One, which killed at the box office, did very well. Solo did not perform as well as they thought. I don't even think they thought it was going to perform well because there just wasn't much interest in this film going in. A lot of people weren't talking about it. And if they were talking about it, they were talking, negatively about it without even seeing the film. And that could have hurt ticket sales for the first week, where a lot of people didn't rush out to go see it. Or it could be that, maybe we had too many Star Wars films too close together. You had one back in December with episode 8. Then you have another one in May. So maybe that's a little bit too much Star Wars for people. It's possible that they could have just waited because they don't have anything opening up in December, but they have a lot of other Disney titles. But they don't have a Star Wars film this year in that time slot that they usually have. It could be said that they maybe should have waited a little bit to maybe give people time to desire this film or to gain interest in this film. Maybe do a little bit more test runs, run the story through a few more times before releasing it to the public, just to try to get a feel of what they think and then correct some things that maybe didn't work. If you don't know the history of this film, it's like they had a previous director who did, he filmed like 80% of the movie, or the movie was done, and then they weren't happy with it, and so they parted ways with that director and brought in someone a little bit more notable. That is Ron Howard. They brought him in, and he refilmed almost 75-80% of the movie. At that point, they're pretty much maybe done with this product and just decided, okay, this is what we have, and just throw in the towel and conceded, this is what we have. Let's throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. And it didn't stick well with a lot of people. And I don't necessarily think that it's because the movie is horrible. It isn't horrible. It's enjoyable. For a summer movie, this movie really opening up on Memorial Day, and to me, that's always been the time that summer movies start, Memorial Day. It's right after, school's out, graduation's done. Having a summer tempo movie open up on Memorial Day, always seemed more fitting to me. I didn't see a lot of movies growing up, but it always seemed that, to me, that was the time that summer began, or summer starts. So, yes, it garnered in 121 the first week, and now 3 weeks in, it's close to like a little bit over 200 million domestically. But I don't think we can use that as a indicator to how successful this movie is or the story is. That's just money. That's money being counted by the studios and or the Hollywood news media. And that stuff matters, especially during the summer, because you want to, it's all about where you rank in the end. And we all know that it's just going to be Avengers. Avengers killed everything unless you have a sleeper hit like Guardians of the Galaxy that comes out of nowhere and just slays this competition for the summer. Nothing else is going to beat Avengers, because right now, what is that movie sitting at? $2 billion? That's a lot of cheddar. So you're not really going to. So you're basically going for a second place now. And unfortunately, it's not going to be Solo, but for Disney, it might become another movie like what Incredibles, or hell, well, no, it just might just be Incredibles, or hell, they even have Ant-Man this year. They have a lot of movies coming out. So Disney is not one to cry over spilled milk. But does this movie really sour? Does it really curdle expectations? I don't think so. I think it gives you exactly what it wants: an action space movie with pseudo cowboys in the mix and some of that Star Wars legend in there that you can kind of get behind. But do we need this movie? That's the thing. Do we need it necessarily? I don't think so. I don't think we necessarily need this film right now. We are comfortable with who Han is and the mystery of Han Solo. He shows up and we know he's just a scoundrel. He's a lawless cowboy, space cowboy, or space pirate. I was consider them more pirates along that line, but you do have bad cowboys who went from town to town, like stealing things and just who live for adventures. And Han Solo, in that right, we knew who he was in those episodes 4, 5, and 6. And his past just didn't matter. His actions in those movies defined who he is as a character. Now, what Han Solo is doing is trying to add more lore to the Star Wars anthology. How did this character come to be? Well, we see that we don't need to know how he is or who he is. We saw that with those previous movies. So now when you introduce this character or who he was then as to whom we know he is now, then yes, you opening up Pandora's box. You opening up more questions that you have to answer. And so just saying Solo, they're going in saying, okay, well, this is just the first movie. You've been introduced. Now let's go ahead. And towards the end of this movie, you know that they should be planning a sequel because that's where they leave it off at. And it's going to go forward from here. And I think that's where the importance of Solo or these pre-Solo movies will be determined, as in the subsequent films and how they matter, or if they do matter to the character we see in 4, 5, and 6. It's so confusing because you want it, but then you don't. Necessarily, I don't need to see a lot of this. It's cool. It was cool to see them, and the characters who play them now. The actors who play these characters now, they're interesting. They actually did a good job in this film. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it heavily. But there was a lot of unnecessary things in this film, aspects of this movie that I don't necessarily need. I don't need this film. If it didn't come out this year, then I'm okay with that. Maybe it's just Star Wars exhaustion. Are we tired of just seeing it? Is it too close together? Normally, they give us a year to wait before the next Star Wars installment. But I think they are so heavily packed in December around the holidays with Mary Poppins and Nutcracker and some other movie, I believe, that, I don't even know when Dumbo comes out. I think Dumbo is maybe next summer. But they're so packed with films for the holiday season that Solo maybe would be lost within that gambit of films. They fall into the trap again of just not knowing where to place this movie. And based on its history of production, it was just ripe with problems, from dropping the first director after the movie's, was basically completed. They dropped to the director and brought in another one, Ron Howard, who refilmed most of the dang movie. And it's not uncommon for them to do this. They did it with Rogue One. But however, those changes, although people were unhappy with just the movie in general, some people were, but a lot of people still enjoyed it. But whatever changes, whoever said, hey, let's throw in that that Darth Vader scene. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I just made that like 10 times better. So whoever made that decision was awesome. And I don't know about this film. I think it's just that it needed to be more. You need more to this character. We need more to see it. So you have to think of this as just an origin story and put aside all that you know about Han Solo, and then watch this movie and try to enjoy it for what it is, which is just a summer blockbuster and the beginnings of a storyline based in Han Solo's background. You have to put that aside and just consider the fact that, okay, there is more to this story. But do we care? Do we care enough? And it's only going to matter in the next couple of films. And people will watch it. Do I think that they'll be successful? Yeah, I think they'll be successful. If they do it right, I would say. I wouldn't say by doing it right. It's just you have to make a compelling story, compel us, because even in this film, whatever changes they make, we don't know what they made. It just seems a little lost. It seems a little indifferent to the character, to the Han we know of from episodes 4, 5, and 6. Han is just a lawless character. He cares about nothing but himself. He cares about money. He cares about his ship. He doesn't want to be a part of any rebellion. He doesn't want to be a part of any movement towards any political movement. He's done his time. He just wants to fly the universe and get into some more stuff and find adventure. And in this movie, it was feared, by a coworker of mine. He just said, I just hope they don't make him good or a redeemable character. And then what do? They make him a good redeemable character. And you have to believe if someone is like this, or like how he was in 4, 5, and 6, that he had no merit. Yes, he might have a conscience about some things, but the guy has no merit. He's the guy who shoots first, period. He's the guy that'll shoot you in your back. To make this character redeemable in the end just seems unfitting for the Han Solo that we know, that was established by George Lucas in 4, 5, and 6. But I don't know. It's not too, it's just too annoying. I absolutely came out and just said in the movie, one of the characters tells him that he is good. It's like, okay, why? You just had to slap us. It's like being slapped with a fish in a fish market. Like, or when Buzz Bunny rolls up on you, takes off his gloves and just slaps Elmer Fudd. It's not necessary. You're supposed to show these things by action, and we see that his actions determine that this man is, that he has some good in his heart. However, you have to let that play out and not really put it on display and be so obvious. We know that he has heart. We've seen the other movies. We know he has something in him that will compel him. But ultimately, in the beginning, you have to believe that this character was just a scoundrel. He's a scoundrel and a rat. And in the beginning crawl, you say this is a lawless land on that. And he grew up on the streets of Cordelia, that planet city, that planet state or whatever of Cordelia. He lives there, and he from birth, he's been taught to steal and just live for himself. And yes, that's a predecessor to someone who will grow up in this type of universe and just be lawless and just go about seeking adventure and amassing as much as he can by doing the wrong things. So to make this character redeemable and not really give us that fun, dark movie that it should be, I think it took away from the enjoyment of the film for most fans. Like I said again, I enjoyed the movie. And I read this article and they said it should be 2 movies possibly. I thought, and I think that as well, because I think there's more exposition needed. More like, when he joined the Imperial Army. Think about this. Think about him joining the Imperial Army, and in this movie, he does question, why are we here? Why do we do things? Somebody like that who is, who grew up on the streets, and now he has to answer to command, and he's being told to do certain things that he doesn't like, and it weighs on his conscience, and he's like, no, I don't want to do it. He wants to defy order. That's Han. That's Han Solo right there. He wants to defy order, going against the actions of a lieutenant or a captain, or this this military training that teaches you to be compliant, this military strictness that requires you to be compliant to people who are above you. They tell you to do something that you don't like, you still have to do it. So to have this just reluctant soldier would have been a cool story as well. Think about making a movie like a platoon or a Full Metal Jacket, but based in the Star Wars era. I think you have a more compelling type film for your intro to get us into the mind of a Han Solo. This movie was made for fun, just like a lot of movies. A lot of other things they say is like, okay, you play to the audience. You have to, but I don't think they played to the audience on this one. Oh, they did play to the audience. They wanted to make it a Star Wars film. Let's make it Star Wars film. Let's not make it too dark. We did that with Rogue One, and Rogue One was just, people thought it was dark because it's like it had a dark ending. It was dark, yes. However, it was compelling enough. And it had a beginning, middle, and a definite end that we could resolve. That was resolved for the audience, for us. So we didn't really have to expect more or need more. It wasn't a setup for more. This was the end of this damn movie. That was the end of the movie. It's like, okay, Death Star blows up. It annihilates everyone who tried. Every piece of the rebellion. Every person who decided to sacrifice themselves died in this movie. No questions asked. And we get a kick-ass Darth Vader scene where we see his viciousness. And that's what I needed for Han Solo. I needed a little bit more of where did he get this carelessness? Where did he get this? And I have to see that he was probably angry too. He's angry at something, but where did he get it? And I think that's what you get later on with the Star Wars story. And yes, it's pandering. It's setting it up to make more films because this is a movie. This is an industry where people make money on movies. So what do you have to do? Make more movies. How do you make more movies? By getting people to want to come to the movies and continue to watch these films. So you lead them off. You got to lead them to watch the next film. And that's what this is. But hopefully you go into more criminal aspects of Han. You have to break this character down, make him unworthy of the sentiment, make him unworthy of praise. But you already ruined that in this first movie, where you give him like a redeemable quality, a redeemable task. He shows his vulnerability in this film, and that was kind of that just sucks because you want that to be a little bit more quiet on the back end. You want it to be there, but you don't want it out there on Jump Street. We need a criminal film, a criminal underworld film, and if they go into the second one, you might just see that. And like I said, first movie's introductions to characters, they're kind of catch-22. You got it, they're damned if you do or damned if you don't. But based on the numbers, and if this movie was gonna fail, why not go balls in and just say, you know what? Let's just blow this. Let's make a different movie. Let's make another Rogue One and just make this dark. Let's be DC for once. Let's go a little bit darker with this. Let's give this movie a different look than our other Star Wars movies. Same elements, but maybe a slightly different look. Make it a little darker. Let's, just in content, script-wise. Not just how it looks on screen. Let's go in and just, where it matters, change something. And that's on the page. You have to change it on the page first. And I don't think that he needed, and the actors did well. Actors did well in this movie. I think Donald Glover as Lando, he did well. However, at times, kind of broke protocol when he tried at times too hard to be like Billy D. Williams and sound like Billy D. Williams. And then in certain moments of the film where action gets tough or something, or maybe in just the refilming, he changes his tone a little bit and it doesn't sound like Billy D. It just sounds more like Donald Glover. And I thought that was rather weird. And there was one scene that the continuity broke where if you watch the movie, he's in the train station or the transport transport station building, and his face is all beat up. His face is clean, but then his face is all beat up like he was just hit with a couple rifle butts of a rifle or something. Like he just got stomped. But you didn't see that happen. It's like, okay, you drive the car, you have a little run-in with another cruiser or somebody chasing you, your pursuer. You guys crash vehicles, you get stuck, but his face didn't hit anything. They didn't really hit anything head on. Then they rush into the station. His face is clean, and all of a sudden, when he goes up to the teller agent, his face is all bruised and looks like he's just been in some kind of scrap, like a major scrap. So I thought that was, and yeah, because even when he has to confront, and he's being talked to by Proxima, even his face, when they beat, they kind of bully him there in that scene, he just gets hit in the stomach. They didn't necessarily hit him in the face. Well, the guy did hit him in the face, but his bruises didn't come until they do that jump, that one cut to his face, to him talking to that teller. His face was clean. I'm just saying. Just if you see this movie, if you watch it again, I've watched it twice now, or was it 3 times? I think it's just twice. And yeah, that continuity broke there, and it kind of just threw me off. I'm like, okay, that's what happened. That was first film, second film, first film production, second film production. But yeah, otherwise, they kept the continuity pretty good. I liked a lot of elements in this film. The special effects were great. Like, I don't know what anyone's talking about. If you go to a summer movie and you want special effects, you want the Star Wars ship flying around, the Millennium Falcon doing this thing, you get it in this film. Not towards the ending so much. You kind of get a sappy little, like, okay, let's just stand here and see what happens type thing. But they do give you the experience of flying through the universe and doing what Star Wars does. They hit all the beats. They hit most of the beats that they need to hit with these movies. And you have to look at them all as being alike in a way. They do have a formula. Hit this beat, hit this beat. You have to include this. This thing has to be in there. And that gives it supposed to be a Star Wars feeling. This, those little beats, hitting those marks, make it a Star Wars movie. And a lot of people say it with Rogue One, they say it with the Last Jedi. They say it with the first movie. I don't know. Well, not so much with Rogue. They had some fun stuff with Rogue, but I think it was the latest Star Wars movies, these recent Star Wars movies, that they say that it's evident that they just pre-map the movie. And then they hit the beats like perfectly, like boom, boom, boom. We need this to make this movie good. One of the brightest moments of this movie, a lot of people didn't like it because L7, just like in the Rogue One, they had this droid that was just pretty cool. And I loved L7. L7 was a great character. But do I think Lando needed a co-pilot? Nah. In this universe, I see Lando as just being maybe just this, this is how he became a single pilot. And he was so devastated by L7 that he was like, okay, no, I don't need another co-pilot. He runs and he just goes by himself on these adventures. And he becomes just an individual scoundrel type pirate, space pirate. And I can see that with him. But I always thought that, he wouldn't even need a co-pilot ever. That this man would he's just so cool that he's just, I don't need anyone but myself type mentality. And he would only pick up a team when he needs a team. He doesn't need a team. A team needs him. I like that, but I did like L7. I think this activist droid, that was actually just pretty cool. Just because he added like a lot of flavor to the movie, a lot of fun, where things started to get a little dark and you have to lighten them up with this trash talking droid with this feminist type demeanor, it's an activist demeanor. But I think she was more feminist than anything, or robotist. I don't know. But I really like her just because she had a little bit of pep, and I like the voice of this person playing her. I don't know. Yeah, so I did enjoy the movie. I liked it. It sucks that it didn't do well in the box office, but I think it's like, you should get just more to come. There's more to come. Disney, they pretty much map all that stuff out. So they'll keep making those movies, and hopefully they won't disappoint us, more people. But as far as a summer tempo movie, it actually did well for me. And let's go into the summer tempo movie. I think the summer tempo movie, to me, it doesn't start in April. I'm sorry, April is still just spring to me. It's just springtime. And you have people in school, and yeah, it still grosses money, but okay, when did the summer movie just become an April release? I just don't get that. I always thought of it being like Memorial Day, right after Memorial Day. You have at Memorial Day and then forward. That's when your summer movies start, and it's just full with summer blockbuster movies. Think about this. Think about if they postponed a lot of things, and they put everything just on the back burner, starting with Memorial Day. It's like boom, we put all the movies because then people are on vacation, and so they're with families. A lot of them will go to the movies, especially in my history of working at a movie theater. You see that people come out with their families during that time. A lot of times, yeah, they spend out barbecuing and stuff, but a lot of people are visiting family members who are graduating from college, graduating from high school. You see an influx of people right after people conclude with their family festivities. They flock to the movies. And with Indiana Jones and Terminator, all these movies back in the day, not Avatar, but all these movies back in the day, people were just, bam, those are the holidays that they hit. We would see like what, 6,000 in attendance a day, 4,000 in attendance. And it's basically people packing into 400-seat houses, 300-seat houses. After just around around that holiday, and then from there on it starts your summer movies, and the theaters are packed, and then actually the weeks are packed. The weeks are packed with, you have choices of movies, and that's why it becomes so busy because nothing is really spread out. You might have 2 blockbusters opening on in 1 week, and then they have to compete for dominancy. It's like who wins, and that stuff was always interesting. More studios were doing that because more studios were releasing their product at the same time. But now what you have is you have one studio releasing product, releasing like summer blockbuster movies, type quality movies. I mean, titles that productions that cost like in the upteen hundreds plus millions, 80 plus $100+ million. We had DreamWorks, all these people, Sony, all these people were making movies. But now the only distributor or studio distributing movies is Disney. Disney has like what? How many did they have? Technically, if you want to think about it, you have just this summer alone. Hopefully I get it right. Avengers. Okay, you had the Avengers come out. Boom. Han Solo. Incredibles. Ant-Man. And then towards the end of it, you have Christopher Robin, just to soften the blow a little bit. Just to like give other people a gut punch. 5 movies opening during this summer blockbuster stretch of time. It's like, what? And who else? No one else is competing with that. So what can you do when you saturate the market with just one studio putting out stuff? You have nothing. Okay, you have these weeks where, okay, you have an opening movie like a Deadpool, which this was actually pretty cool when they had Deadpool, because you had 2 weeks to wait after the release of Avengers. You had 2 weeks, and then it hit Deadpool, and then Han Solo. And then Han Solo releases after that. But then after that, we had a lull. You have like a lull of weeks where they're just throwing in other movies like Hereditary and all these other different films, which I don't understand are blockbusters, because to me, I'm sorry, Hereditary isn't a blockbuster unless it was going to garner $100+ million. It's an indie film that premiered at like a Sundance, I think it was, mass Sundance appeal. But like Hereditary isn't going to like come in and bring in the big bucks. Overboard isn't bringing in the big bucks. It did well when it opened, but that to me, filler movie. That's giving people something other to see than, Avengers or just Avengers, because it came like out like a week later. I just want to, the time used to be where people just studios would saturate the market, because that was their time to put in their movies and not worry about, and not being scared off by a behemoth like Disney, which, hey, to their credit, they're doing their thing. They're just making movies. So it's up to everyone else to make movies. However, a lot of other studios don't have these properties that they can rely on, these pre-existing properties that they can rely on to get people into the seats. Look, it's all about the sure thing. It's all about the sure thing. And if you know, like if you had to have an Avengers movie, people are going to see that. Sony doesn't have that. They used to have Spider-Man, but now Spider-Man is along with the Avengers. Along with they work alongside with Disney now. And so who else has these summer tempos? So you have movies like The Purge. They're doing it every year. That's cool. But what kind of blockbuster do you have that's pre-existing? MI4. You got Mission Impossible. Well, not MI4. Mission Impossible 6 coming out. That's a summer entity. And they will keep making these movies just as long as Tom Cruise keeps signing up for them. But then what if that well runs dry for Paramount? What else do you have? I guess they have the Fast and Furious series. But without The Rock, now I think that was pushed back to like 2020 or something like that. Go look at Tyrese's feed from before. They had a little thing where, it was supposed to come out, I think, next year. The next Fast and Furious 8 or Fast and Furious 9, Fast 9. But that was postponed because The Rock is just too damn busy. So you don't really have the pre-existing properties coming out yet. Not even with cartoons. I see that next year there'll be another like How to Train a Dragon. This year we have Hotel Transylvania, but in Disney they wisely finally releasing Incredibles. Awesome. Gonna watch it. It's gonna do well. It's gonna do hella well. Hella good at the box office. But people are just saving their chips or investing their money in just like maybe a couple of titles that they believe, and they're all pretty much pre-existing. There's no real original stuff that they're actually taking a chance on, like blockbuster wise. Like last year you had freaking Independence Day. It's like, really? Why would you invest in that? Makes no damn sense because the movie sucked. But you have these pre-existing titles, and that's what they have to save their money, a lot of their money, for the sure thing. Even the sure thing isn't really good. It's not necessarily a sure thing, but it remains to be seen. We still have the rest of the summer coming about. But that's what I hate about summers now, is that we're missing that competitiveness. No one wants to go up against Disney. To their right, Disney, they're playing the industry for what it's worth. If no one else is going to come out and compete against them, then they will reign supreme. I just wish that there were more titles, and I think it has to go back to not making remakes of everything, trying to remake stuff. We had just had a recent Ocean's 8. I just think the remake is done with. You have to have a franchise. We know that summer tempos are usually filled with franchises, but you have to have a franchise that people like or want to see a continuation of. It's still up in the air. You don't know which sleeper hit you're going to have this summer because, just like I said, to me, summer just started. Deadpool and all them, they were like pre-summer to me. Those are pre-summer movies, but they're considered summer movies. And then they have other tempos that are listed under like blockbuster movies to watch this summer. They have 18, about a little girl. It's an indie title about a girl, going through 8th grade. Oh no, I think it's just called 8th grade or I don't know what her name is. But it's about a girl just going through 8th grade. It's like, all right, that's cool, but that's more to me like a November movie, kind of like a Lady Bird or something like that. It's an indie film. Is it a blockbuster? No. Sorry to bother you. Is that movie a blockbuster? No, that's more like an indie. It doesn't seem like it's going to do much. For a tempo, I think these movies, certain movies don't do well. I'm going to reference The Purge. But look at these people. They keep putting one out every year. Maybe because they're cheaper to make. And that's good. I like to see that because you do have certain continuity with certain films that you can do that with. They're silently making these movies and just releasing them like, look, this is The Purge. Whether you like it or not, we're putting them out. And I applaud that. So they've kind of gone their way with those movies. They could be good, they could be bad, they could be better, but it's more like an episodic thing. They at least keep people watching, and they do well enough to make more. I just wish we had more original titles. You can only make so many superhero movies, and we see like the only real superhero movie saga that people are interested in are those produced by Disney. The Marvel Universe, they're killing it, man. It's just, especially with Infinity War, the movie was just great, and you want to see more. So if you can get a Han Solo to do well and continue that story, then guess what you have? You have a made movies tempo that you can continue with every other year or every year. I don't know what their production slate looks like. I don't think they released that like which they did with the phases for Marvel. They released all the movies that were going to be coming before it. But yeah, a lot of people, I think, and plus people are choosing to release their movies either before or after the summer, whereas when they're not as saturated, the weeks aren't saturated with so many titles. Because if you release it on a supposed week, your film will be the movie attraction for that week, and people will go watch that movie. Why? Because this is the entertainment business. Entertainment society. People love their entertainment to get away from the BS of everything else, of their daily lives, or just everything. They just like entertainment. We're driven by entertainment. We love it. Entertainment and food. That's two things that we like in this country. So yeah. So if you can release it on a week where things are weaker, or during the time of the year where studios are producing films, then boom, then your film could garner that money from the first 2 weeks of that box office opening, and then that does well for your film. That does well for your studio. You might make a profit, and then you can make more movies. So I know the business mind. I know it, the business framework of it all. But it's just like, I just miss those years where you just have summer tempos, and then you have movies just come out. The movies, just people making, just studios just making movies just to put them out. Yeah, they wanted to make money, but it's kind of like, let's throw this. Let's see if this sticks and see what happens. Or just maybe there's just a lack of content out there right now, and a lot of it's being soaked up by Netflix or online properties. You had that too. But I think now also, which I'm gonna do an episode on, it's called about episodes. I think it's all about the episodic. It's about us training ourselves now to be so used to the idea of things being handed to us. We don't have to. We don't necessarily have to want to work for our entertainment. We just want it out there. And, it's going to be a struggle now for some studios to get behind that. And that's why they go episodic with Netflix, with on VOD demand properties, where they can just release movies. And some of these movies need that. They can't tell a full story within 2 hours. You need more. And I think that more is what really interests people. It's like, okay, I want what? It's like sometimes when you walk out of a movie, you don't feel fulfilled. Like even with Solo, I didn't feel fulfilled enough. I wanted more, and I guess that's where it leads me to. But then it's like, okay, do I care? Do I care at least to want more from this actually saga? And yes, I do want more from this, but some people are just like, they're dismissive of it. It's like, okay, well, I watched it, and okay, it's over, and let's go on about our business. Let's not dwell on it. But then you have like a Game of Thrones or something like that, and then boom, people are like, even if it's 3 years before they make a damn another Game of Thrones, we're waiting for those 3 years to that 3-year stretch to end, so we can finally get our satisfaction. Times with movies in the theaters nowadays, it's like, okay, they resolve things too quickly. It's not enough time. And I don't know if you guys have felt that. There's not enough time invested in the story to really get for you to be fully satisfied from where they went with the story. It's like, I want, beginning, middle, end. I want the characters to evolve. And sometimes those characters need more room to evolve. And that's what you get with Solo. You need more room for these characters to evolve. And so we have to keep watching the movies. But in this society where we have things on Netflix where it's like, okay, you can watch an entire season if you just sit down for a day. But you got 8 hours to spare, you can watch an entire season or something. So we get that satisfaction right then and there. But when we go to the movies, back in the day, it was like, okay, well, we have to wait. We have to wait for the next one. We're satisfied with that. But with this, nowadays, in this market, we don't have that. Because you go to a movie, you feel unfulfilled. It's like, okay, I want more. I want more. Are you going to give me more? We're like little crackheads. We're like movie crackheads. Like, go, man, feed me more. Oh, yeah. I love it, Netflix. I love the Amazon. You gave me more. But then even after that, after watching 8 episodes, it's like, shit, I want more. Give me more. Give me more. We like little crackheads. Think about it. We're like movie entertainment crackheads. We're just like entertainment crackheads. We want entertainment. We want satisfaction right then and there at our fingertips and eyeballs. We just need it. And just like I said, I tell my wife, read a book. Sometimes you don't read a book. You can get involved in a book. Find a series or something like that and then get into that. And that's why people watch like Friends or they watch Grey's Anatomy. I heard a lot of people watching that. The Office, something that has like many seasons, because why? It gives them that satisfaction, but then they can keep watching for a long time until that thing ends, and then they're like, okay, now what else can I watch? But the Summer Temple, I just wish that there was more, that studios took more of a chance, but they're releasing less titles these days because they don't want to take a risk. They have to allocate their money and be a little bit more stingy and not invest in original properties or properties they know won't make them a lot of money. And I think that's where we as audiences lose out at finding that new best thing. But then that's where the VOD people like Netflix and stuff, that's where they win. If you don't finance this original title, then one of these studios, Amazon, Hulu, Netflix, they're gonna scoop it up and then they'll make it. They'll get the praise from that, and especially if it's a good movie, then they'll get the benefit of it, of people tuning in to watch more instead of going to the movies, and that sucks. Now let's go to the scoop du jour. I told you before, my scoop du jour is called the preordained clapback. Recently, if you've been watching the news, if you're paying attention to pop culture, you this Pusha T, Drake stuff. Pusha T comes out with an album instigating a fight or a tweet war or a rap war with Drake, and so you have these people. Pusha T releases Infrared, and then Drake claps back with the response within like a couple of days, and it like freaking killed the internet. Then all of a sudden, the story of Adidon comes out, and Pusha T basically kills Drake's on the track. He stops that on. He stops his work. He concludes it. He like ends it on an exclamation mark, like, oh, back in the day when you had, this just reminds me of something they called the Dirty Dozens back in the day, where you sit around and you just basically trading barbs with insults with your friends. It's just you against this person. You're trading insults back and forth. You gotta be quick witted. You have to be able to, like, and a lot of times, like, some people were quick witted, but then some others are like, okay, I'm actually thinking of these things, and then I'm gonna go outside, and then I'm gonna use it, and then I'm going to slay you with stuff that I've thought of before. And the Pusha T's, the story of Adidon, that thing was just an infamous clapback where it was preordained. People were preordained. He had this in the waiting because he knew he could instigate it with Drake, who is supposed to be king of the clapback. Because what Drake did to Meek that one time, when he was dating Nicki Minaj, and Drake came at him, was like, boom, he shut that shit down real quick. Meek came out with his little verses and then his little mixtape, and then boom, his little track, and then Drake came back, and he just, it was just over. It was basically over. That just reminds me, like, before that, Nicki Minaj got into like a little snap with Big Ma, and Big Ma came out with this damn album that freaking slayed Nicki and just shut her up. So whenever you can come back with clap back with something and then shut that person up, that's called the preordained clapback. But Pusha T, he knew what was gonna happen. And what happened with this movie, and I'm gonna tell you how it comes back with Solo. Just wait for it. Let me get to it. Let me build it up. Okay, and so what happened with this one, the preordained clapback? It's like he knew this was gonna happen, so he waited. He got Drake's response, and then boom, he clapped back, and it was a vicious one, vicious clapback. Go listen to it, whatever. I'll supply a link in this episode. So he claps back at Drake, and now it's been silent. But recently we heard that, okay, Drake's comeback was just too devastating. It'd be too devastating for Pusha T and Kanye, so we're not gonna release it. So it could be a lot of this. To me, everything that comes out on the media like this during someone's album release or something like that, because you got Drake's album coming out too, it's Pusha T's album. All this just seems like playing the audience, and it, because even negative media talk is good media talk for the person trying to release something, because it's attention. Attention is attention. So, but yet it's fun for us. It's fun enough for us to watch. But, for me, the clapback was like pretty cool. And and if you guys don't know anything, I'm throwing a movie reference. It's like, I love the preordained clapback. And if you're ever going to clap back at somebody, know your opponent. That's the best way to clap back against somebody. Know your opponent. And it reminds me of this scene in 8 Mile, when Rabbit, they were talking to that girl they were seeing. He was talking to that girl that they were seeing. They were talking about, Anthony Mack's character, and they were talking about him and how he went to this prestigious this prestigious school, and that he was from the suburbs. And then you see Rabbit's eyes light up like, oh, snap, I got you now. And once he did that, to expect something in that final scene, during that final rap battle, when he just freaking clowns the hell out of this character, out of Anthony Mack, and he just slays him to the point where he's just standing there with his mic looking stupid. That's how you really clap back at somebody. You know your opponent, and then you just clap back real quick. And I know if you guys have been following more of this stuff, just more Twitter shit. I don't really follow. I get my stuff from the news like ESPN, and this was on ESPN. Lonzo Ball throwing shots at like Kyle Kuzma or whatever, and they're teammates on the Lakers. But we issued a freaking diss track or whatever, and then I just saw like this cool kind of like subtle clapback where Kuzma was in China, and he takes a picture of some like this rack of like sunglasses that China. That was how it kind of cool in reference to Lonzo's Ball like brother getting arrested in China for stealing sunglasses. But they were like this tier of cheap sunglasses. He took a picture of that. But what I want to talk about is like with Solo. It's like, okay, people, with anyone with beef over Star Wars, we can't set aside your differences and just say, I don't know, you get so mad watching a Solo or watching anything that is not episode 4, 5, and 6. It's like, you did this to yourself. The end of the best clapback ever. Best clapback ever. I say George Lucas handed down to all the fans of Star Wars. The best clapback. Whereas after episode 1, 2, and 3, and you guys shaded him so much for this. He was so broken. You guys shaded him so much. This man was so broken. It's just like, what? You just had him like slap his head like. He's like, it's like the story. It's like infrared. No, it's like Drake's comeback. What the hell? The biggity boo. Well, I don't know what it's called. But when Drake's comeback, in the beginning of that track, when he's like, he just issues this heavy sigh like. That's what George Lucas sound like when he started getting all this freaking feedback that he didn't ask for from this movie, all this freaking harassment from making episodes 1, 2, and 3. So you know what he did? An ultimate clapback. He sold that bitch. He sold all of it too. He sold all of it to Disney and said, here you go. Have at it. Have fun with these trolls because I'm done. And that's the best clapback. So if anyone wants to talk crap about this movie or anything else coming out of Star Wars, I say you did it to yourself. But yeah, if you recently haven't been in the news, they were talking about, I'll reference this in the show notes for this episode, talking with Burrito. It's going to be actually episode 80. I think I'm on episode 81, actually. This is actually episode 81. Talking with Burrito /81. Look up those show notes, and I'll have, references to these, where I think he was going to actually, episode 789 would be, he was going to actually develop storylines based on the midichlorians. So whenever Obi-Wan was talking about those first 1, 2, 2, and 3, he was going to exercise his right to expose in episode 7, 8, and 9. So just episodes about midichlorians. Read the article. That's where he wanted to go with it. It's going to be some kind of like, let's go inside the mind or the body of the Jedi and explain everything. The world, the universe, how the midichlorians existed in this universe. Who gets the midichlorians? And to what avail does the Skywalker, does someone with the midichlorians and the Jedi mind? I don't know. Something about the Jedi religion and all this crap like that and midi-chlorians. I don't know. It's kind of like the good from the bad, but I just thought that was the best clapback ever. It's like George Lucas was like, all right, screw all of y'all. I'm just going to sell this to somebody who's going to take it and they're going to use it to make money. More money. And I'm just sitting on the back end and just take in all this money because, I sold it to them, but yet I still get a little bit off the top of everything they make, these billions of dollars. And so, I'm at the bank, I'm laughing, and you guys are sitting here writing little like Twitter snippets about how much you hate Solo and how much their Kathleen Kennedy is ruining the universe and what the hell is going on. Well, you did it to yourself. Clap back. I don't have anything for this, that, and other news for this week. However, I do have a cryptoid. And so let's go to that. All right, y'all. This is Dim the Lights. The J-Dog about to get sexy. Click with some cryptoids. Cryptoids, demons, vampires, blah, blah, blah. Sock trolls. Yeah. It's time for the cryptoid. The Loch Ness Monster has been sighted once again. The Loch Ness, Sir Madam Loch Ness, or Madam Locky, or Locky, or Lock. I don't know. Somebody took this video of Loch Ness Monster, supposedly, quote unquote. Supposedly the Loch Ness Monster. But if you look at this video, there's this thing kind of bobbing in the water. He's bobbing in the water. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Video footage. Bobbing in the water. It's like, okay. It has the body is pretty long. Now, could it be a log? Maybe, but it has a hump, and then the body is submerged, and then there's another hump on the end. They're kind of doing this kind of bobbing along, sort of like a dolphin, but a dolphin with a bigger, longer body. And not really hopping out of the water, but just parts of it are just waving through it, like jubilantly. Not really jubilant, just steadily, just walk across the lake. Okay, so this guy takes this footage, and I'm thinking, get a little closer, man. It's like he's taking it from like 100 yards away with a cell phone, it seems. The picture is like, a little bit distorted. Not distorted, but it's grainy. And so it's sort of like he had to zoom in and use his zoom. And don't you know, number one task of filmmakers that you never zoom in. The zoom is, unless you have a telezoom lens that actually can go that far, reach that far, and produce the clarity of an image that you can use to the clarity of the image and that you can make out whatever's like on that they're actually taking a picture of, then don't use your damn zoom on your phone. That's like a travesty. Walk. Use your legs. Get a little closer, bro. You watch this footage. It's so far away. It's like, I don't know what the hell that is. You can't just tell me to sit here and look at Locky from this, because it's, this is supposed to be one of those cool things because you haven't seen this long a video of Locky, this span of time, this long of a video or video taken of the Loch Ness Monster. So you're sitting there, you're watching, it's like, all right, then what happens? But the guy just sits there. He doesn't try to get close or anything. He's just filming from far away, which kind of adds to the bogusness of it. Because if I can't make it out, then I'm say that I'm gonna call BS. I'm gonna call bullshit on you. And my thing is with this cryptoid, it's just if you see something, unless it's Bigfoot and it's a goddamn Bigfoot and not just a man in a whatever suit and a dress, then walk up to it. Get a little closer. Get that video footage. Just like Childish Gambino said, you're a filmmaker. Turn that shit horizontal, man. Don't be doing it. That's the first rule of law. Turn it horizontal. Because if you're doing it vertically, then we have to zoom in, distort your picture, and we're not going to be able to make out and give you the credit that you deserve as being the first person to capture real footage of the Loch Ness Monster, man. Come on, bruh. Use your feet. It's the rule of filmmaker. Use your feet. Get a little closer. And that's to everyone out there who's taking shitty-ass videos. Walk closer. Get up on your subject. Don't use Zoom because it's going to just freaking distort it and it's going to become pixelated. You're not going to be able to make it out, and then you're going to post it to Facebook or something, and it's going to look like crap. And then what am I looking at, man? What am I looking at? Come on, give me something else. So that's my thing for you. I'll post a video. Tell me what you think. Does it look like Loch Ness, or just a weird log that has a weird abnormal shape, or just a big old fish or eel? Could have been an eel. I don't know. Get a little closer. You could have had something on your hands here. Come on, man. Use your feet. Thank you for listening. That's Talking with Breeders. And for anything, for notes, anything that you comments and stuff, just go to talkingwithburritos.com/81 for this episode. You can leave a comment on this episode. Tell me what you thought about that video. Tell me what you thought about Han. Leave your suggestion, your comments and stuff over at talkingwithburritos.com or Facebook, Twitter, all the social medias, Talking with Burritos or Talking Burritos. And you guys have yourselves a lovely week. That's a wrap, but not a burrito.